It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Got a funny story with this beer. Polly's Brew Co. Satin Pattern Double Dry Hopped IPA. Oh, Pale Ale, sorry. Double Dry Hop Pale Ale. 5.5% ABV, 440 milliliter can. It's been double dry hopped with Columbus, Eldorado, Mosaic and Simcoe. So 4 outstanding hops there. But the very quick funny story I want to say to this is when I went to my local Barry store to find this, I had a quick glance on their Instagram account where they released this beer saying that it's in Morrisons. And because I had a quick glance in the supermarket and it was early on a Sunday morning, I thought it said Satin. So I got up to the lady because I couldn't find it on the shelf, and I said, have you got this new beer from Polly's Brew Co in North Wales called Satan's Pattern? And she looked at me like, my goodness me, is that a name for a beer? And it's only this morning, like a couple of days later, where I've held onto the can here and I'm going, yeah, that says Satin. Satin, not Satan. Blimey. Anyway, 440 milliliter can. Let's get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. Polly's Brew Co, based in Mold, North Wales. They used to be called Loka Polly, but they've been brewing beer since 2018. One of these breweries really that I think you've got to have this like magic blue, do they call it touch paper, where you kind of light it and it kind of sparks, it just ignites. Well, the same can be said for this brewery. They were a little kind of unknown mold brewery that started producing terrific IPAs, and they become one of the elite, if you like, one of the where they don't really have to advertise, where they don't really have to kind of do too much on social media because people are chasing their beer. There's a certain kind of, what's the word? In craft beer, there's people who know their stuff. There's a group of people who really know their IPAs. And that group of people probably accepted Loka Pollies back in the day. And those people told other people, they started putting stuff on social media. And then the next thing you know, Loka Pollies, they've changed their name to Polly's Brew Co. They're one of the most outstanding breweries in the UK. They've got a fantastic reputation. And the word spreads. Basically, this is what I'm saying. The word spreads. The good word spreads. There are some wonderful breweries throughout the UK. I think Staggeringly Good down in Portsmouth did a similar thing where they produced really good beer and people really wanted to try it. And people seek it. People will seek good beer. Same with Cloudwater, Verdant, and now Vault City in Scotland. They're another one. So beer in the glass. We've got a 1 finger white head. Hazy straw coloured beer. I was a little bit hesitant on the straw colour. It's a canned, but it is definitely straw coloured. I just wanted to kind of stare at it for a little while. It's a canned craft beer, a can conditioned beer. You can see the little bits of sediment floating around in the bottom. So what that means is there's a little bit of yeast in the bottom of each can that will mop up any kind of residual sugars that are in the beer and kind of just sort it out, if you like. Give it a little bit more carbonation, give it a little bit more kind of oomph, a little bit more miles per hour. I always love a bottle or a can conditioned beer. It adds so much more of a dimension, a better dimension to the beer. Let's get the aroma then. Nice, very good. Very, very good. A little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of tangerine, a little bit of peppery spiciness. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Superb. Absolutely superb beer. Stone the Crows, Stone the Crows. What I really like about the beer is the softness of the water. I could begin the tasting with the hops. The obvious thing, I could talk about the hops, I could talk about the malt, I could talk about the bitterness, but I'm not. I'm going to start with probably one of the most important things in this beer, because if that's a 5.5% ABV beer, then it's at least 94.5% water. 94.5% over 100% of any ingredient is a big dominating factor. It's the biggest ingredient in the beer, is the water. So it's very important that you, oh, did you just see what I did with my hair? I just did a, ooh! Got a bit nuts in my old age. 94.5% of anything is a massive, massive percentage of an ingredient in a beer. So if they soften that water, if they treat that water for the hops to shine, for the malt to shine, then terrific. And that's exactly what they've done. The water is really lovely and soft. Then you get some passion fruit. Then you get some mango. It's a little bit citrusy. It's very soft in the middle. I think they've added oats to the beer. It's very kind of creamy and rich, if you like, but still holds on to a massive amount of kind of refreshingness. There's a little bit of bitterness on the back end. There's a little bit of sweetness to begin with. So the beer has really nice balance. It's a tremendous beer. It's a tremendous beer. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I just finished reviewing a Siren Craft Brewery beer. It's over there in my living room. And that was good. I give it an 8 out of 10. I described it as a really good beer. But I gave it an 8 out of 10. I didn't give it a 9. I didn't give it a 10. I felt that it was a really solid beer for £3 a can. But this is another level. This, for me, this Polly's Brew Co beer, if you're standing in the Morrisons store now, and you're looking at the Siren beer at 6%, and you're looking at this Satin pattern, I nearly called it Satin again, which is 5.5% ABV, and you're looking at that kind of half percentage point and wondering which beer to go with. If you like your really soft, juicy, drinkable IPAs where the water's treated correctly, choose this beer all day long. Choose the two. Choose the two and do a side by side. Pick up the Siren, pick up the Polly's Brew Co beer. Put them side by side, and this is a much better beer. This is a much better beer. You can just tell it's got all those kind of lovely raw ingredients in it. The hops are terrific. There's a little sprig of carbonation that pushes the beer around the inside of the mouth, releases more of that flavour. It's just lovely. It's just lovely. It really is. Have a look at the beer now as I rock it back and forth. You can see the carbonation chasing the head of the glass. Lovely, lovely looking beer. Look at that. Great lacing, great look to the beer. Now, I'm going to say one more thing before I rate the beer. Actually, let me rate it, and then, because I don't want to, let you guys hang around too much if you don't want to. Let me rate it. I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10 for a pale ale at £3 a can in Morrisons. I think that's tremendous. 10 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. It's tremendous. I'm going to move on to this quick story. So, on Morrisons' Instagram account, they kind of talk about the hard work that went into getting Polly's onto the selected Morrisons store shelves. This beer is not in every Morrisons. Unfortunately, I think it should be. But they talk about the hard work, the difficulty in getting Polly's to agree to come in onto a supermarket shelf. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is I mentioned it earlier, Polly's have this fantastic reputation. There's a certain amount of trepidation. If you decide to go on the supermarket shelves, you might be deemed as, I mean, some people see it as selling out. Some people see it as a lowering of quality. Some people see it as the business is now going to grow into this big, giant brewery where, you know, they don't really care about their customers anymore, and it's all about profit and loss and all this other stuff. And I totally see all of that. What we can only hope for is that Polly's Brew Co. hold on to this level of quality. This is tremendous beer. It really is. And I said it in the previous review of the double dry hopped IPA. If you want to see where Polly's were or are, if you're watching this, so I've recorded this in 2022. Let's do an experiment. If you're watching this beer review, say in 2027, 5 years time, are you looking at the same Polly's beer? Is it nice and hazy? Does it have fantastic lacing on the glass? Is it still the same level of quality of beer? And I say that because I've been around a long time now in the industry. I've witnessed Brewdog as a craft brewery producing Punk IPA where it was absolutely fantastic back in the day. Then I see it go on the supermarket. Brewdog's Punk IPA probably looked a lot like this when it was first brewed. And I can say that with confidence because if you watch my original beer review of Brewdog's Punk IPA from 12 years ago, you will see something very similar to this. Hazy, great lacing on the glass, 6% ABV IPA, terrific stuff. Completely different to the Punk IPA of today, unfortunately. The same can be said for Thornbridge with their Jaipur. When Jaipur first went into, when I tried Jaipur, first of all, it was a 330ml bottle. It was one of the most outstanding IPAs that I've ever tried. Within 2 or 3 years, they ended up in Waitrose. It was still a terrific beer in Waitrose. But now they're in Asda, they're in Morrisons, they're in Tesco. Thornbridge Jaipur is kind of everywhere now. And although it's still, for me, a better beer than Brewdog's Punk IPA, it still has had that same fate. That same kind of, the brewery's expanded, the beer doesn't quite taste the same anymore. It doesn't taste like Jaipur used to taste. So, moving on to this, I have my fingers crossed. Then that Polly's Brew Co. can maintain a level of quality. They can keep hold of this lovely, I mean, look at it. What a lovely looking beer. Lovely aroma, fantastic taste. I really like it. I really like that. I like that. Well, I've already rated it. I said a 10 out of 10. That's a 10 out of 10 beer for me, for the money, for the value for money. It's a great IPA. It's terrific that we now have these good IPAs within reach. I think I said it in the Northern Monk Imperial Stout review that I did very recently. The fact that we have these beers on tap, literally down the road from us now is kind of terrific. And that's the flip side. That's the flip side of supermarket craft beer, is the fact that it's easily accessible now to the masses, whereas before you may have had to order something online or relied on a friend to tell you to buy a certain beer, or if you rely on Untapped to have a look what are the best beers out there, you haven't got to do much of that anymore. You can just kind of go to Morrisons and buy a Northern Monk Imperial Stout or a Polly's Brew Co. double dry hopped IPA. Things are getting good for us beer drinkers, they really are. I hope you liked the video. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers.